Not be her favorite subject.
When God of War becomes a living myth. God of War isn't just one of the greatest action game series of all time by chance. Beneath the bloodshed, the fury, and the relentless battles of Kratos lies a beating heart of ancient myth, breathing life into legends from sun-drenched Greece to the icy realms of Norse gods. But the true soul of the saga isn't just in the gods he defies. It's in the creatures, the guardians, the monsters, the cursed, and the forgotten. Beings born not from imagination, but from the ancient stories whispered beside firelight for thousands of years. So who are they? What myths do they come from? And why did Santa Monica Studio choose these creatures to stand in Kratos' path? In this video series, we'll uncover each legendary being that appears in God of War, trace their roots back to ancient civilizations, and explore the deeper meaning behind their power, symbolism, and the primal fears they awaken within us all. Hydra, the beast of Lerna and the tragedy of immortality. When God of War first launched in 2005, it opened with a thunderous clash, Kratos facing down the Hydra in the midst of a violent sea storm. A monstrous, multi-headed serpent rising from the depths, fangs gleaming, eyes burning, and one horrifying trait. Every time you cut off one of its heads, more would grow back. It wasn't just a battle. It was a perfect recreation of one of Greek mythology's most terrifying legends. The Lernaean Hydra, spawn of nightmares, feared even by the gods, and the beast Heracles faced in his second labor. Hydra in Greek myth, born of monsters, bred for chaos. According to the myths, Hydra was born of Typhon, the father of all monsters, and Echidna, their monstrous mother. It dwelled in the swamps of Lerna, near the ancient city of Argos, a land of magic rituals and blurred boundaries between life and death. But Hydra was no ordinary serpent. Its breath was poison, its blood was death, and its curse, every severed head returned with two in its place. Hydra was more than a beast. It was a symbol of fear that multiplies, of problems that grow stronger the more you try to escape them. Heracles versus Hydra, a battle of symbols. In the second of his 12 labors, Heracles faced the Hydra, but brute force alone wasn't enough. The more heads he cut, the worse it became, until he discovered the solution. With the help of his nephew Iolaus, he burned each wound after decapitation, searing the flesh before new heads could grow. Finally, he crushed the immortal central head beneath a massive stone. And yet, the Hydra's curse lived on. Heracles dipped his arrows in the creature's toxic blood, and years later, one of those very arrows would bring about his own death. Hydra may have died, but its venom endured, like a myth that refuses to fade, a tragedy that poisons even victory. Hydra in God of War, more than just a boss fight. In God of War I, the Hydra attacks Kratos' ship, each head emerging in different locations, mirroring the chaos and multiplicity of the original myth. Kratos must sever each one, battle through each phase, and finally drive his blade through the skull of the central head, just as Heracles once did. But here's the difference. Heracles fought for glory. Kratos fights to survive. When the Hydra falls, there is no triumphant anthem, no feast, no hero's welcome. Only a lone warrior standing on the serpent's corpse, cold, unshaken, already walking toward the next chapter in a tale written in blood. Cerberus, the three-headed hound of the underworld, and the gate no one returns from. In the God of War series, Cerberus appears in many terrifying forms. From small, three-headed hellhounds birthed amid battle, to massive, snarling beasts that guard the gates of Hades with flames, claws, and crushing might. But beneath the roar and fire lies a much deeper truth. Cerberus isn't just a monster. He's a symbol of finality, of the point of no return. Cerberus in Greek myth, the guardian of the dead. In ancient Greek mythology, Cerberus was born of Typhon and Echidna, the same monstrous bloodline that birthed Hydra, Chimera, and other nightmares. But Cerberus was more than a dog. He was a towering creature with three heads, a serpent for a tail, and a back crawling with snakes. Dwelling in the shadowy depths of Tartarus, where the only gate between the living and the dead lies hidden in eternal darkness. And his role? Not to keep people out, but to ensure that no soul ever escaped. Who dared face Cerberus? Few ever stood before Cerberus. Fewer still return to speak of it. Heracles, in his 12th labor, was ordered to bring Cerberus to the surface, alive, unharmed. A trial not of violence, but of will and control. Orpheus, the grieving musician, descended into the underworld not with a weapon, but with a song. His music lulled Cerberus to sleep, granting him safe passage. Aeneas, the Trojan hero, fed the beast drugged bread, slipping past him in silence. Each man approached the hound not as a warrior, but as a soul carrying something deeper. Resolve or mercy. Cerberus in God of War, the hunter, not the gatekeeper. In God of War, Cerberus is no longer just a gatekeeper. He is a hunter. He appears in arenas, in the underworld, in flames and fury, spitting out smaller beasts from his gut, snarling through smoke and fire. A living reminder that no one escapes death forever. And Kratos, who once clawed his way out of Hades with bare hands, must fight Cerberus not once, but again and again, as if death itself keeps finding new ways to return. Cerberus isn't just a monster. He's the final line, the last rule that even gods respect. The dead do not return. And yet, Kratos does not sing to him. He does not plead or offer poisoned bread. He tears the beast's jaws open with his own hands. Cerberus, when death has a face, and its name is loyalty. In ancient Greek, Cerberus means guard of the gate, but it can also be read as faithful to the underworld. Not evil, not cruel, simply loyal to his purpose. Cerberus exists to keep souls where they belong. And when Kratos kills him, he doesn't just slay a creature. He breaks the final law. He shatters the boundary meant to hold the dead. While mortals of old brought music, mercy, and magic to face the hound, Kratos brings only fury. Cerberus was the embodiment of death's order. Kratos, he is its defiance. Gorgon, when a single gaze can turn hope to stone. In the God of War universe, Gorgons appear as monstrous serpentine beings, part woman, part beast, slithering across the battlefield with the lower body of a giant snake and eyes that can instantly petrify Kratos with a single blink. But beyond the gameplay challenge, the Gorgon is rooted in a myth far more tragic than monstrous. A tale of divine punishment, distortion, and one of the most heartbreaking stories of a woman in ancient Greek mythology. The origin of the Gorgons, Medusa was never the villain. In the original myths, Gorgon isn't a species. It's a name shared by three sisters, Stheno, Euryale, and Medusa. The first two were immortal. Only Medusa was mortal, and once she was beautiful. Medusa was a priestess of Athena, sworn to chastity, and renowned for her divine beauty. But her beauty caught the eye of Poseidon. In one of the most tragic versions of the myth, Poseidon assaulted Medusa inside Athena's temple. And instead of punishing the god, Athena turned her wrath on the victim, cursing Medusa by turning her hair into snakes and her gaze into a death sentence. From a mortal woman, Medusa became a monster, exiled, feared, forced to live in isolation, where the only place she could look without causing death was into still water. She wasn't evil. She was a victim. But over time, we forgot that. We only remembered the curse, Perseus and the severed head of death. It wasn't Kratos who killed Medusa, it was Perseus, the golden hero blessed by the gods. Using a mirrored shield to avoid her gaze, Perseus beheaded Medusa, and from her blood sprang two beings, Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, the golden warrior. Even in death, Medusa was the mother of legends. Her severed head retained its power, capable of turning enemies to stone. Perseus wielded it like a weapon, and eventually Athena took it, fastening it to her shield, the Aegis, as a divine emblem of fear. Gorgons in God of War, from tragedy to enemy. In God of War, the Gorgons are reimagined as an entire race, not just Medusa, but a species of deadly monsters. They appear in game after game, each one bearing the same fearsome powers. A gaze that turns you to stone, venomous bites, crushing tails, and spinning death auras. But in this world, they are no longer victims. They are obstacles, creatures to be grabbed, strangled, ripped apart by Kratos' bare hands. In God of War, Medusa doesn't weep. She screams, and her story ends not with sorrow, but with the crunch of bones and the silence of defeat. the true symbol, when power is born from pain. The Gorgon, especially Medusa, is more than a monster. She's the embodiment of a fear ancient society couldn't name. The wrath of a woman violated. The pain turned into power. Her petrifying gaze is more than a weapon. It's a memory that won't be forgotten. A trauma that freezes you in place. Kratos kills the Gorgons. And he's not wrong to. But as he crushes Medusa's skull in his hands, one question lingers. Is this a victory? Or the repetition of a punishment that was never deserved? Griffin, the skyward sentinel and keeper of the god's gold. In the world of God of War, the Griffin may not be as iconic as Hydra or Cerberus, but when it appears, it dominates the skies. Massive in size, faster than lightning, savage beyond expectation. Swooping from the heavens like a divine thunderbolt, the Griffin is not a foe you can outrun, nor one you can underestimate. But in ancient myth, the Griffin wasn't born from blood or brutality. It was born from light, guardianship, and sacred treasure. Griffin in mythology, guardian of the divine gold. The Griffin is a majestic hybrid. The head, wings, and talons of an eagle, king of the skies, fused with the body and tail of a lion, king of the land. Its myth spans more than just Greece. You'll find it in the legends of Persia, Scythia, Egypt, and ancient India. Across cultures, the Griffin was revered as a sacred guardian, especially of gold. Not just any gold, but divine gold, linked to immortality, kingship, and the favor of the gods. According to the historian Herodotus, the Scythians believed griffins dwelled in northern deserts beyond India, fiercely guarding holy mines of gold. None could take from them unless deemed worthy. The griffin was a symbol of holiness, of unwavering loyalty, and of perfect balance between sky, earth, and the sacred. Griffin, not a monster, but a divine sentinel. Griffins were never evil. In ancient Greek and Roman art, they adorned the thrones of Zeus, the shields of Athena, and the tombs of the honored dead. In some versions of myth, even Apollo, the god of light, rode a griffin instead of a chariot drawn by horses. Griffins did not fight to conquer. They fought to protect values, beliefs, and the line between the mortal and the divine. Griffin in God of War, when the sacred is dragged to war. In God of War 2, Kratos faces a massive griffin, stripped of dignity, yoked like a beast of burden. No longer free, no longer sacred. It carries soldiers, breathes fire, and wears the marks of enslavement. Used not as a symbol of divine order, but as a weapon of mortal war. Yet even as a tool of battle, the griffin fights with honor. It does not whimper. It does not betray. It does not beg. Kratos defeats it not out of hate, but because in war, even angels can be turned into monsters. The symbol of the griffin, when the sacred becomes a weapon. The griffin is one of the rare mythical creatures born not from rage, vengeance, or lust, but from the will to protect. But protect what? Depends on who gives the order. When enslaved and ridden into war in God of War, the griffin is no longer divine. It becomes a mirror, showing how sacred values can be twisted into tools. And when Kratos slays the griffin, he doesn't just kill a creature. He kills the idea that something in this world might still be pure. When legends are no longer legends. From Hydra, the deathless serpent of the Lernaean swamp, to Cerberus, the three-headed hound guarding the gates of the underworld. From the petrifying gaze of Medusa, to the sacred wings of the griffin soaring above Zeus's throne. Each creature, once carved onto vases, painted across temple ceilings, sung of in ancient epics, was revered with fear, awe, and a whispered truth. They are not just monsters. They are symbols of what humanity cannot yet understand. But in the world of God of War, these beings are no longer mythic tales. They are enemies, obstacles on Kratos' brutal road of vengeance. And one by one, they fall. No songs, no offerings, just silence. Kratos did not enter mythology to learn from it. He came to tear it apart. The Greek world in God of War has no radiant gods left. Here, legends are chained, dragged into the dirt, and killed, barehanded. But what does that mean? Is God of War merely a massacre map of Greek myth? Or is it the tombstone of a world that once blazed in human imagination? A world where monsters weren't meant just to be slain, but to be understood? A time when people believed that every serpent carried a lesson, and every beast was a mirror to the soul. Yes, Kratos swept through Greek mythology like a flood, washing away gods, drowning symbols, and leaving behind a world that is now empty, quiet. But listen closely. In the darkness of fallen Olympus, you can still hear the hiss of serpents, the growl at the gates of death, and the final breath of creatures once known by another name. Legend.